Hey everyone, I'm Flo, Judy's behind the camera, and we're all about simple food, simple faith. We are making taco rice today that, would you believe it or not, originates from Okinawa, Japan. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe for more simple food ideas. Apparently, I've been making taco rice for years and had no idea that it was a thing. I recently heard about taco rice from Okinawa, Japan, from a friend of mine who constantly makes taco rice, and I just assumed that it was just the taco rice that I ate. It's essentially the same, or very similar. I just make the taco meat to go on top of rice. We usually eat it with jasmine rice, but because of this recipe, I'm gonna try using Japanese short grain rice. So the story goes for this taco rice that it originates in Okinawa, Japan because of the Americans that were serving at the military base there, and a restaurant owner saw how much the Americans loved tacos and he thought to combine it with Japanese, and that's where Tex-Mex meets Japanese food. We're going to start with making the salsa. I'm making fresh salsa, which is also known as pico de gallo. If you don't want to use this recipe for fresh salsa, you can absolutely just pick up a jar of salsa from the store. I have a small red onion. It doesn't have to be red. It can be any type of onion. Just so happens that these red ones were on sale, so that's what I have. I'm going to cut up the whole onion because I'm going to need it for the rest of the recipe, and I'm just going to use a little bit of it for the salsa. So let's just chop it up. Pro tip, if you keep the butts on your onion, you can keep it all in place so that it doesn't like splay all over and make it difficult to cut. See? So I'm going to use about 1/4 of the onion for the salsa. So I'm just going to take a bit of it and transfer it to a bowl. I'm using half a jalapeno. And we don't like it too spicy, so what I'm going to do is remove the seeds and the pith on the inside, because that is where the heat comes from as far as I know. We just want the flavor of the jalapeno without it being too spicy. I'm only using half, but you are welcome to use the whole jalapeno. And if you want, you can also chop up the jalapeno and put it in with the taco meat. I'm just going to use half. Right, and this is also going into the bowl. And super important, I'm going to go wash my hands, because if that chili oil stays on my fingers and then I go and touch my face or something, it's going to burn like crazy. Next, I'm going to chop up 2 Roma tomatoes. You can use regular tomatoes, tomatoes on the vine, or whatever tomatoes you can find. I like the Romas because they're not so juicy, so they're perfect for this salsa. Thanks for sharpening my knife, dude.
Anytime.
I have about 12 sprigs of cilantro here. I am going to use all of it, but only some of it is going to go in the salsa. The rest I'm going to use as garnish. Just roughly chopped. I grew these this summer, and my tip for cilantro is I kind of grow a few plants every couple of weeks so that I always have cilantro. Cilantro tends to bolt really quickly in the summer because it's too hot to grow cilantro, but I like having cilantro in the summer. So I try to space out the plantings so that I get fresh cilantro kind of all summer long. Okay, I'm going to use about half to go into the salsa. Right, I'm also using a lime. I want to say half a lime, but it really depends on how juicy it is. So I've already rolled it on my counter. Apparently that makes the juice come out more. I don't know how that works, but it does. Actually, this one's pretty juicy. All right, that is going into the salsa. Ooh, that was quite a bit. Maybe 1.5 tablespoons. And then a couple good pinches of salt, a little bit of pepper, just a couple of grinds, and give this a stir. All the flavors will meld while we get the rest of dinner ready to go. All right, you guys saw how easy that was to make salsa. You're looking at $6 for the same amount if you buy it in the store, and it probably cost me like $1 to make that. One last thing to chop up. I've got 2 cloves of garlic. This is going into the taco meat. All right, this is good enough. For the taco seasoning, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make at home, and you likely have most of the ingredients, if not all of them, or you can just pick up a package of taco seasoning to use. Okay, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. And look, I am measuring today, guys. 3 teaspoons of cumin powder, or ground cumin. 2 teaspoons of paprika. It doesn't matter what kind of paprika. It could be smoky paprika, sweet paprika, hot paprika, totally up to you. 2 teaspoons of onion powder. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. And if you don't want it to be too spicy, you don't have to use as much, or you can omit it altogether. I'm using 4 teaspoons of Mexican chili powder, but you can just use regular chili powder, whatever you have. I didn't have a separate container for this. And about a teaspoon of ground black pepper, or until your hand gets tired. All right, I think I'm at the end. Ugh. And give that a stir. That's it. That's all there is to it. Your own taco seasoning. Then whatever you don't use, just store it in an airtight container. Right, now it's time to cook. I'm going to heat up my frying pan on a medium. And once your pan is hot, you can add a tablespoon of cooking oil. I'm using avocado oil today. Adding the onions. And cook this for a couple of minutes. Just until they become a little bit transparent. So you can see when you're cooking red onions, the red kind of changes color, like it kind of fades. And that's probably when you want to add your garlic. Just going to saute the garlic for about 30 seconds, just until it's a bit fragrant. There's nothing like the smell of onion and garlic cooking. I'm just going to push the garlic and onion to the side. I'm going to add my beef to the middle. I have 1 pound of ground beef. Just going to let it flatten it and kind of let it sear on one side before moving it around. Now I didn't add any oil because I'm using just regular ground beef, but if you're using lean, you might want to add a little bit more oil so that you can get the beef sizzling. Okay, when your beef is mostly cooked, we're going to add about 2 teaspoons of soy sauce and about 2.5 tablespoons of the taco seasoning. And then we just want this meat to be cooked through. And for that seasoning to cover all of the meat. It smells so good, you guys. So you can see all the moisture has evaporated, and you can hear the meat sizzling in the fat. And so you want to keep this going for a couple of minutes. This will deepen the flavor of the beef. All right, that looks good. Turning off the heat. So So look at all the taco seasoning that's left. We're gonna transfer it to a jar. I'm sure there's enough for another batch or another time, and you don't have to do this again. And you don't have to use ground beef. You can use ground chicken, ground pork, totally up to you. With this seasoning, it'll still be tasty. I'm just gonna put it in a serving bowl before assembling. Now, I taught you how to make taco meat. We're making taco rice today, but you can absolutely use this for tacos, nachos, burritos, whatever you like. All right, time to assemble. We've got our bowl of rice. This is just for one serving. And just want to top it with your meat. As much as you want. Is that enough for you, dude?
Yeah.
You could put your cheese on to melt on your meat if you want, but we're going to put our lettuce down first. So I shredded some lettuce. Then I'm going to top it with our salsa. And with our cheese. And then last but not least, just a little bit of cilantro on top. Are you all ready for?
This is the taste. I am Dude. Oh, so much, a lot of freshness going on here. That pico de gallo. I'm gonna mix this thing up. And so you get a lot of flavors all over the place. Yeah. This dish just is, you can have it any time, but it is kind of representative of summer right now with your favorite drink. This is a summer feast that you guys gotta have.
Awesome, thanks, dude.
Well,
Forgot to mention that this taco seasoning is also great on fish for fish tacos. For this recipe, check it out on FLO'S.com.